Welcome to Slasher Sunday. So we haven't done a Slasher Sunday in a little while. You know why. But moving on from that. So Child's Play 2019, a film that I came out of absolutely hating. And lo and behold, come to find out, much to my surprise, that a lot of people, friends of mine, people whose opinions I hold in a pretty high regard, really enjoyed the movie. I was stunned by this. I thought the movie was just dreadful. Now, there were some things I enjoyed about it. I can usually find something good to say about anything, for sure. But just the whole movie, I kept sitting there rolling my eyes like, what the fuck are they doing? What is this movie? Now, I definitely have people who agree with me on this. Now, if you have a negative point of view on something, or a positive point of view, or a blah point of view, you're always going to find people who agree with you, no matter what your opinion is. So that's not really saying much. But I did feel like the film was pretty close to split. But more on the side of liking, which, just as I said, when I came out of the theater, I was convinced that I might have the most positive opinion of the movie, which was that I really hated it, but that I could find some things to like about it. I just figured everyone would be like, no, it's pure shit. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. There's nothing good to like about it. But that all being said, having had months all pass and having, now gone into it again with a more, I don't know, calculated expectation. I didn't have any expectation. That was just the thing. And I always go into films unbiasedly. I try never to let my bias, my expectations, any of that shit distort my viewing experience. And so when I went in there with an open mind and just came out really, really, really not a fan. And on this viewing as well, I was like, all right, man, I need a Slasher Sunday. I don't have any of my movies. I don't have access to any freaking slasher movies at the moment. And I was at the Redbox and I was like, oh, Child's Play. I've been wanting to rewatch this ever since. I saw it and everyone had a different opinion than me of my friend group. Outside of a couple, of course. There were some people that were like, yeah, I agree, it's shit, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of my friends were like, no, I really enjoyed it. So I've been wanting to rewatch it ever since. And so we did. I did. And I definitely don't hate it as much as I did, but I still don't really like it all that much. One of my main problems with the movie, my biggest problem with the movie outright, is that the doll is just awful. Just horrid looking. Now, I know some people could see that as a positive, like he's really creepy, or he's unsettling, or something. And while I could understand that, and I do understand that, but just not with this doll. Like, to me, this doll looks idiotic. Period. Like, I don't see anything creepy about him. I just look at it and think, this is a really poor choice by whoever created this doll. Whoever was behind the scenes and agreed to that, whether it be the director, production, design, producer, whatever, property master. Doesn't matter. Whoever was in charge of that, or all of the above. It's a horrid looking doll. It looks like Down syndrome Chucky. And I can't stand the fucking doll. I can't. It drives me nuts. The whole movie, I'm just like, why does this doll look so dumb? Why does this doll look so stupid? And I just can't take it seriously. I also really hate the You Are My Buddy song. I think that's on purpose, though, because kids' songs are supposed to be annoying to adults, and, the more you hear them, and this. But I don't know, there's just nothing about it that seems like it was created for a kid's toy or television series or whatever the hell My Buddy was at that time. I think the Buddy doll, My Buddy, I called him My Buddy. A little slip there of what the doll's based on. But yeah, this is a electronic device best friend freaking thing. So yeah, I don't like the song. I don't like the look of the doll. Mark Hamill's voice was it was a turning point for me when it was announced. I was like, oh, whoa, Mark Hamill, okay, now I'm interested. He's a great voice actor. I mean, he has the Joker, let alone, that's enough right there. So, yeah, I just went into it like, all right, maybe something could happen here. And really, all I saw of the doll up until very close to the movie was that poster where it just looked like a sleeker Chucky. And I was like, oh, all right, people were kind of bagging on it, being like, oh, he looks wimpy and this and that. And it's like, the good guy doll looks wimpy as fuck. What are you talking about? So the wimpy thing, I never understood that complaint. But having seen it in the movie, and even some in the trailer, very little in the trailer, to be honest, and I think there's a reason for that. They didn't want people to see how stupid it was. But getting in the theater and just seeing how it was reacting, and like when they have that scene where he's doing the stuff with his face and he's making him smile real big and try to be scary and this and that, it just looked dumb. I know I'm like beating a dead horse now, but I can't get into the doll, not for any reason. And Chucky is the most iconic killer doll in cinema. The look of him, whether it be the good guy doll, the Child's Play toy, and then the bad Chucky, the killer doll, both are iconic looks. Both look great. This one looks the same on either end, and they can't say both because it's all in one, but it looks terrible. So I guess that's why I struggle so much, because of how iconic in nature the original doll is. But we got Aubrey Plaza in here, who I think is a fun actress. She is a kooky ass chick, man, and I dig it. I think she's wonderful. She's kind of a breath of fresh air to certain kinds of actresses. She's just, you ever seen her in interviews? She is, as I don't even know if this is some kind of like routine, some Andy Kaufman-esque routine she has going on, where she plays like totally aloof and confused, or just so above it all, or whatever it is. I think that's really just her, to be completely honest, but man, she's fucking fantastic. That all being said, I feel like this is an odd casting choice for her, although I do think she does a fine job. Like, when her and Andy are bonding, and I get it, they did make her 16 years old when she had him, or got pregnant with him anyway, and so their age range isn't that different. And so when they're hanging out, it does kind of make sense that they're buddies, for a lack of a better term. And I liked that. I mean, it felt genuine in the moment. I'm like, that's a bad way to parent your children, is to act like their buddy. You need to act like their parent. You're not their buddy. But yeah, I mean, I'm not here to judge people or try to say that that's not realistic, when plenty of parents are like that. But I don't know. I guess what I'm doing, and I don't mean to do this, and I shouldn't do this, so I should be kind of annoyed with myself right now, which I kind of am, but I am comparing her to, Mrs. Barclay in the original. And, which is funny, because I don't do that with Andy. And I think Andy does a really good job. I think the kid who plays Andy in this actually gives a good performance. Like, I fault him for nothing. I think he really brings a really solid performance here, and I do like the kid, and so I'm not going to say anything about him. And there's just a lot of really silly moments in the movie. I guess I have notes here, so let's start getting through these. And I did like, one thing I think that they could have capitalized a little better on, but they did do pretty well, and I think that something that is actually superior to Child's Play, although we couldn't see this for obvious reasons, but is the bonding of Andy and Chucky within this film versus in the original film. But in the original film, it's just a doll. It can't talk in front of people, otherwise it will be exposed for being Charles Lee Ray, or possessed or something of that sort. So when it came to this version, since the doll can interact, since the doll has a wide array of responses, he's pretty much limitless in his vocabulary. That did give them that ability to bond in front of people, not to have to hold back that part of it where he's like whispering to him in his room or anything. So we do get that bonding in here, and it does make sense on a little bit of why Andy might be protective of Chucky. Now, once Andy started seeing this thing go after his cat and kill his cat and all that, one would expect the kid Andy to expose this doll. I mean, it's a doll, for Christ's sakes. They do try to make Chucky a pretty sympathetic character in this, because I mean, in all reality, he's just a product of this disgruntled employee who screwed with his programming, and Chucky is not inherently evil. But that all being said, it does make you wonder, without those inhibitor chips that are put into them, would all of them go evil? Like, is that just default mode for AI in this universe? So I think it's because he's defective and what he's exposed to. I mean, he's exposed to a broken home and kind of an abusive asshole and a vicious cat and horror movies and all these things, and his programming is kind of fried. So it would kind of make sense that he's trying his best throughout the movie to gain Andy's friendship, and he can't seem to get it in the way he wants to get it, and so he tries to go through at it with other means. And I like that. I think that there's a lot of interesting things going on here. For me, it's just more about execution, not only just within the look of the doll, but on how scenes and situations are presented within the film. Things feel very stock and generic at times, eye-rolly on other events. So while I can step back from some of it and be like, oh, that was a cool kill, that was a neat scene, that was a cool idea, that was a good performance, this is a well shot film, and production value is high, and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I can start to pluck out and cherry pick things that I did like, and maybe accumulated into oh, that was all right, and going in with expectations that were in the gutter for most people. I could see them being like, wow, all right is 10 times better than I expected, which elevates it to a I actually liked it, kind of thing. So I do understand where people are coming from in that regard, but at the same time, all of the poor qualities of the film for me stand out so much above the more generic, or maybe slightly above generic qualities of the film. So if that makes sense to you. Anyway, I did like Detective Mike a lot. I could not take, now as I said, this is another thing where it's like, people are weird. This isn't not realistic, it's just my brain, and it's probably a bias because I find Aubrey Plaza to be very sexy and irresistible. But this dude, what? This is the dude she goes after? Really? And then he ends up being this married piece of shit. That's another like super obvious convenience of slasher movies, like just to have that generic obligatory cunt to throw to the meat grinder within the film. And I get that, and I get that like catharsis that they put in there for the audience, like, oh well, here's somebody you just want to die. So when that happens, there's kind of like a hooray from the audience and whatnot. But I've always found it to just be a little bit more artistic and better writing, filmmaking, if you can not just deal with black and whites. Like, to just throw characters away like that. And it's fine to have those characters, and don't get me wrong. Not at all. It just, it felt very convenient, you know. But the reveal of him being this married guy and the way it's just Aubrey Plaza's character within this movie seems to truly love her kid. Now, I'm not saying that every mother who picks their dude over their kid doesn't love their kid in some way. I'm sure they do. But the way the mom loves her son in this movie, the relationship that they have, I just don't buy that she would put up with this guy's shit at all for any way, like for any reason. Like the shit he pulls. Now, granted, at the end of the time that they are interacting, she kind of is like, well, you crossed the line, you know. She doesn't know the extent of what happened, that he actually like laid his hands on him and cornered him in a room and all that. And honestly, like, that is a guy that he's abusing children. The way he talks to Aubrey Plaza when she brings him out cookies and she's like, oh, look, I buried it. He's like, oh, yeah, nah, I'm good. Like, give me another beer and all this. This guy's a piece of shit. I mean, he's just so black and white. Like, you know, you're not going to lose any sleep over his death. So, yeah, fine. Okay, we get a cool kill. I like it. He's up in the Christmas lights. I guess technically this is a Christmas movie. It's around that time. There's very little focus on Christmas, and even the poster has a Christmas tree with Buddy under it, and it's like, that's not what happens. He gets him early for his birthday. So, kind of odd that it's laced in, but not really focused. It's odd to me. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, he's up there, he gets pulled down, the mulcher, whatever the hell that thing is, rips his face off, and then I love that he puts it on the watermelon and puts it in the room and all that, and when he finds it and the look of it, and the kid finding him throwing up when he sees it and all, great stuff. Really, really good stuff. Right that moment, you know, I'll give that a real big thumbs up. I did love that. So there's something to be said there. Seeing Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 in this film, and that actually kind of being the catalyst for Chucky to go and grab a knife and come and try to attack somebody. I love to see Texas Chainsaw 2, to see Chop Top up on there and the scenes. Now, the film, of course, I always have to notice this stupid stuff, as any horror fan or any chainsaw fan would notice. The film is completely out of order when he's watching it, but it's a montage and it's kind of circling through Chucky's circuitry, so I guess it could be kind of wishy-washy and flipped around and whatnot. Maybe we're kind of getting a glimpse into his head on how things work and how backwards things are, because scenes are played way out of order, like something happens and then something happens way after and then something before it, and you're like, what the fuck what cut are they watching of Texas Chainsaw 2? Yeah, I mean, it's very obvious that Detective Mike and you know, Mrs. Barkley, or is Andy's last name even Barkley in this? Fuck, I don't even know. I think it is. Wait, maybe not. Shit, I don't even remember. Doesn't matter. But Aubrey Plaza's character, clearly like, oh, they'd be better together than this other guy. Well, duh. And that's kind of what's going on, hinting at the end of this, and it's like, meh. Like, they didn't really set that up enough. And the let's see, the mom stuff. I did like the Shane kill, as I said, was good, but the Tupac line killed it for me. Like, it was a cool kill, and then it's like, this one's for Tupac, or whatever the hell he says. This is for Tupac. Stupid line. As I said, like, even cool stuff is followed by eye-rolly stuff. So, yeah. And yeah, I like how I'm all preachy on here. Like, number one rule of dating with kids: you never ever pick your partner over your children for any reason. Your partner doesn't like your kids. They have a discrepancy. They have conflict or whatever. Sorry, I don't care how awesome you are. You gotta go. That's just a rule with me. You know, you should follow that, but you know, if you don't, that's your prerogative, and that's your thing. And especially, I mean, of course, if you saw him like cornering the kid like that, like he did in the room, Chucky's freaking got it on camera. So all you'd need was that. And if she saw that and didn't go, oh, I also like that he breaks his legs when he falls. He stands for a very long time with his legs broken. Although, see, that's another thing. Like, I don't know to what level of seriousness I'm supposed to take this film. It really does play itself very seriously, but then it also kind of plays as silly. And I'm not really sure what the tone of the movie is supposed to be. Is it supposed to be goofy? Like, there's a lot of sequences because, as I said, they make Chucky a sympathetic character. They have this cheating husband who's like almost abusive to Andy. He is definitely emotionally and mentally abusive, but and shoving him down, I guess, technically is a little physically abusive as well, and that's probably where that was heading. So that's all played very seriously. The relationship between Andy and Chucky, Andy and his mom, and all that. Very, very serious. But then, like, the Tupac line and Buddy Bear and, stuff like that. It's just like, is that supposed to be serious? Because it ain't. And then the jokey stuff. So it's like a horror comedy, but it does play itself very seriously at times. I always struggle with that. It can be done. I've definitely watched movies where it can get serious and then it can kind of get goofy, and it's just there's something about the blend that works, and just this one didn't really hit that even that transition in between. And I like that the kid has a Poltergeist 3 and a Killer Clowns from Outer Space poster up on his wall. Poltergeist 3 poster. A Poltergeist 3 poster. That's you're not going to see that very often in a movie. A Poltergeist 3 poster, and he's showing them Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. That kid's got taste. Let me tell you what. I'm the big fan of Poltergeist 3. I think it's the best in the franchise. We'll fight on that later. But for now, let's fight on this one. And then you got the creep downstairs who just doesn't play into the movie enough. I feel like he should be like a looming threat. There should be more moments throughout just kind of reminding us of him and his existence within the film, because he's shown kind of towards the opening and there's like, hey, I'm here and I'm creepy. And then he's kind of just then addressed later on when he finds Chucky, like, hey, remember this creepy guy from earlier? Well, now he's in it, and now he's going to fix Chucky, and he's going to be, the proponent for what elevates these things and puts them back on track when they thought that they had solved the problem. I don't know, just it seemed like he was almost last minute decision, so I didn't really like how he was intertwined into the story, because he really wasn't. But I did like that he was stabbed in the dick. And then the saw thing. Now, I try not to logically think way too into these kinds of things, but he's holding onto a pipe. Just swing yourself forward over it or backwards. Like, it's really not that difficult to just not fall straight down. If you're holding something, shimmy or just rock your body a little bit and fall. I mean, the saw blade's this big. It's not that hard of a target to miss. So that one I had to roll my eyes on, like, okay. But I did like, excluding all of the logic, him falling on the saw blade and it cutting his leg off and it coming off. Good gore. Good moment. So I'll give it that, but the logic behind the kill is so stupid to me. But the same can be said of plenty of other great kills within slashers. So, I'm willing to look past it. But I had to point it out regardless. I like how Detective Mike seems to be the only detective in town, but this is a typical thing in movies where it's like they don't got anybody else in town to investigate any of these other killings. He gets every single one of them. This seems like a pretty big city, so they definitely need to get to the hiring process, because they don't have enough detectives in this town. And the killer drone. Another pretty silly thing. He can control all these. What is this? Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines. And What the fuck does that mean? I have no idea what that means. That's funny. But, oh, yeah, we already know that. I don't know why the fuck I wrote this very late into the notes. I don't know. I have no idea what the fuck that is. And then we get the "this is the end" line. I like that, and you know, there's some homages to the original and whatnot. And, man, I don't know. It's just so blah to me. It's just so blah to me. That's as best as it's gonna get. I'm never watching this movie again. I give it another chance. I think people's expectations were in the trash can, and when the movie ended up being like blah or decent-ish, people were like, "Oh my god, man! I thought it was really like I thought it was pretty good." Like, that's you think it's fantastic. You think it's a fucking masterpiece. That's awesome, and I'm not discrediting you. That's my personal belief, is that a lot of people went into this being like, wow, this is a remake of a classic. It's going to be shit. It's going to be trash. And they went in, and it was so drastically different than what they would have expected, which is kind of what happened to me, except for I didn't have a positive spin on that. I had a negative spin on that. It was so drastically different than anything I expected. But as I've said before, I'm fine with having my expectations not met. It's just presentation, and this one just didn't present itself. Okay, I'm done. I'm still wondering what cheat dies means. Cheat dies. The dude in the beginning, like the boyfriend who's a cheat? I fucking have no idea. I'm sure I'm gonna turn this off and be like, oh yeah, duh. But whatever. Anyway, guys. Alright, Slasher Sunday. Damn, I'm so glad to be back. So, yeah. I look forward to next week. Hopefully, by next week, I'm still not going to have my movie, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, but I'll figure it out. Alright, guys. Adios.